Hey, I'm Bill Gagne. This is the Royal City Hoops podcast. And in this second edition of the 2021 season, this is the second week. We're going to talk about early season ugliness, expectations for the Raptors, and Wiseman and Edwards. We'll also discuss the epic mediocrity that will be my fantasy basketball team. First, I've been watching a few games, and it's really evident that the short off season, minimal training camp, minimal preseason is really affecting the consistency of play. It's really hard to tell who's good and who's not. I mean, you have a pretty good idea, but after 4 games, the Orlando Magic is 4-0 and the Denver Nuggets are 1-3. Do any of us really believe that that's who either of these teams are? No. I mean, Cleveland's 3-0, and while, yeah, sure, they might be a fun little story, do we think they are a top team in the Eastern Conference, let alone the NBA? No. So it's ugly. I mean, you saw the Mavericks. They won one game by 50. Oh, thanks, Doug. They win one game by 50, and then they blow another one by 20. You're just seeing such unevenness, such, guys are rounding into shape. They're just trying to figure out if their hands still work. I think it's going to take a considerable amount of time before we really know who's who. Generally, you're looking 15, 20 games into the season. It's probably going to be maybe even longer than that because this is ugly. I mean, there's some beatings out there. The Clippers lost by 50 to the Mavs. Do you think the Clippers are that bad? No, I personally am not sold on them. If you go back and listen to last week's podcast, I think they're lacking in the leadership quotient, but still a good team that shouldn't be losing to anybody by 50. You're going to see guys kind of get in shape. I think we're seeing some early season injuries that are of the nagging kind, calf injuries. Lauri Markkanen on my fantasy team, out with a calf strain. I think Kevin Love is out with the same, although he's not on my fantasy team. We're just going to see a lot of stuff like that. I mean, partially torn ACL for Spencer Dinwiddie, done for the season. We're going to see a lot of those, and teams' depth is going to matter, how they're going to manage the season. I mean, we don't even know if we're going to make it through the season. So God bless, God willing, let's hope. I'm not even a religious guy, and I'm sending prayers out. So we'll see where we go with this. It's been fun just to have basketball back on, but man, there's been some brutal sequences. Whew. I think there's one from the Rockets and the Nuggets game that was shown that's just this back and forth of terrible passes and turnovers and missed shots. It's like a 45-second sequence. It's atrocious. Look it up. Next, we're going to talk about the Toronto Raptors and really what to expect. I have a friend, we'll call him Don, because he doesn't want me to use his name. We were texting back and forth, and he was just saying, the Raptors being in Tampa is going to set them back a decade. They are away from home. They don't have comforts. They're just going to underachieve, which I don't think is really the case. I mean, I said to him, let's get through 10 games before you go announcing the next decade of horrifying performances. But I do think it's important to mitigate what we're thinking about when it comes to the Raptors. Do I think they're going to have a good season? Yes. What does that mean? 4th or 5th in the East, and yeah, they just won a championship. You can't be competing for championships every year. You're not the San Antonio Spurs. They are an anomaly. I mean, LeBron James, wherever he goes, he's competing for a championship, and he's not coming to Toronto. We hit a home run in a bottle when we had Kawhi come in and be that missing piece to take us to a title, but that's not going to happen. What is fun to watch is they're good. They have some good young players who are going to develop. Are they going to be number one guys, all world players that are going to take you to a chip? No, I like Pascal Siakam, but he's not a closer. He's not a go-to guy, but he's great. I mean, they're a good team. Is there shame in being good? Do you either have to be going for a championship or tanking for lottery picks? Personally, I'm not a big fan of the tanking for lottery picks for my team when you have a team that is, one, fun to watch. They play hard. They have a good culture, which is a total buzzword. And you're going to maybe go to a game one day when this plague ends. Do you really want to go to a team that is going to lose 3 out of every 4 games? Or do you want to go watch a game where, you know what, there's a 65% chance that they're going to win, depending on who they're playing. And I would much rather watch that and be a fan of that and then have my lows and then maybe some highs. But hey, it was 25 years of being a Raptors fan for them to get a championship. Do you want your team to suck? Is that the if you're not competing for a championship, that's it. There's champions and losers. Second place is first loser, as they say. I don't believe in that. That's no fun. Basketball is supposed to be fun. Tons of teams have been great that haven't won championships. It just becomes a really tired debate. I like basketball. I don't have to win a championship every year. Especially as I get older now. I mean, I just want to, when I play, I'm like, my goal is to get up 10 shots, win or lose. It's a big difference from, 20 years ago when it's like, hey, we got to win every game. Now, the Raptors are what do I think they're going to win? I mean, I'm going to think they're going to win their standard, 44 games, but they're only playing 72. So 40 games, they'll win 40 games. Playing hard is a skill in the NBA. And the Raptors, they got good leadership, and I think they'll pull together. They started 0-3. There's no reason to believe that's going to continue. I think they'll be much better than that. But yeah, well, it's early. It's really early to be saying that there's 10 years of horrifying outcomes on the horizon. I'm just going to pass hard on that. Now, I got to watch a couple of games of the first and second picks, Wiseman and Edwards. And I'll say this, the two of them look like they belong. They do not, from what I saw, no jitters, no fumbling, very smooth, very skilled. With Wiseman, I mean, he's been making threes and not like, it looks like he should be making them. His stroke looks good. He's confident out there. Now that can change up and downs of rookie seasons. And defensively, he's got a little ways to go, but he is fluid, long, knows how to play, and is only going to get better. And I think that was a great pick by the Warriors, who, if you listen to my podcast last week, I don't think they're going to have a very good season. But hey, that's what happens when you go from a dynasty to blown Achilles and broken hands and torn ACLs and losing an all-time great. So I think Wiseman's a really nice player. Edwards impressed me as well. I had seen some highlights of him from college and was kind of blown away that he's 6'5" with a 6'10" wingspan. And you watch him out there on the wing, and there was a possession they were playing the Clippers. Now, mind you, only a real basketball junkie is going to be watching the Minnesota Timberwolves against the LA Clippers, with Kawhi out even. And he swallowed up Lou Williams on the 3-point line. Lou is used to, shake and bake, create some space, get his little slingshot up there and make a bucket. So he puts some moves on the rookie, and he doesn't realize that Edwards doesn't have to be that close to block his shot. And you just see these long, rangy go-go gadget arms come up and tip the shot. And I'm sure Lou Williams was like, dang, how did he get there? Wasn't he like 4 feet away? So defensively, Edwards, I think, will come along just because of that ranginess. He showed a little bit of a nose for the ball, got a couple of defensive rebounds, and where they weren't just falling to him, like shot goes up. And I've noticed this with a number of the younger guards is they will, instead of staying on the perimeter or boxing out their man or just standing there, they'll actually take steps into the key just to be like, hey, if a rebound falls to me, I'm here. Luka does that amazingly. I'm sure there's other guys, but I've noticed some of the younger guys doing it, and it's really impressive that they're just picking up garbage rebounds, Edwards' athleticism, again, like Wiseman, very smooth, very natural. He made a couple of decision mistakes. He's on a curl cut and he got the ball with a lane to the basket, and instead he stopped short and took a step back. So he turned what could have been, an uncontested layup into an uncontested 18-footer, which, that decision will change. But he made 3 threes in a span that they were not like forced. They were in rhythm, part of the play, and he just banged him. And you're just going, wow. Like if this kid at 6'5", 6'10" wingspan, and he's thick, he has got an NBA body right now, and he will be very difficult to handle as he starts to figure out how to play. Let's compare him to like Brandon Ingram from this year. And Brandon Ingram has looked like one hell of a player. And I've seen the Pelicans play twice, and he's looked super impressive. Just understanding space, playing slower, seeing the floor. The comparison to Kevin Durant, you're going to see it because of their body types and stuff. And I would say right now, at this stage, KD was probably a better shooter than Brandon Ingram is, but Brandon Ingram's much better at getting downhill. And he's picked up a lot of those old man flip shots, getting in the lane, taking different angles. He was really impressive. And his passing has been really a revelation of late. He's always said he was a good passer, but right now you're seeing their offense flow really well. And they have 3 guys the Pelicans do with, they got Lonzo, Zion's a good passer, good creator, and now Ingram. That's definitely a nice group to move the ball, to make plays for each other. And if they continue to develop these, they could be a big force in the West and in the NBA itself if they can continue to develop and put the right pieces around them. So those 2 guys, really liked watching them play. I'm really interested to see, once we hit the halfway mark, what they look like, whether they're going to get tired. NBA is doing something really interesting with conference games for some teams. If they're going to play each other multiple times, so say Washington's playing Dallas, well, they're going to play 4 times. Washington will fly down to Dallas, play, we'll say Friday, stay over Saturday, and play again Sunday to cut back on travel, which I think is a really interesting idea. I really like it. It's kind of a baseball-ish theme. Somebody referred to it that way. And I think that could really be interesting for people getting rest, players being rested, because it's a long season. Long. Let's wrap it up with my epically mediocre fantasy team. Now, normally, my research to put together the Poontang Goon Gang is relatively intense. I got a spreadsheet going through years past. I'm looking at projections. I'm watching preseason to try to figure out like who's the next guy that I can pick up for cheap. And I sucked this year drafting. Drafting is where I really draft for depth. I'm always looking for multi-positional players to slot into different lineups, guys who are going to cover different categories. And really, I think there's some players I whiffed on. I got Lauri Markkanen on the team. Didn't really want him, but I needed a center, and he shoots threes. The realization is he's not very durable, and he doesn't do much else. I was hoping, it was a shot in the dark pick, but I did get Brandon Ingram, Gordon Hayward for cheap. I have Andre Drummond was an accident. I was drafting. I drafted Giannis. I spent a lot of money on Giannis to do auction draft. And normally I don't spend a lot of money on players, but somebody was going to get him for cheap. And what I liked was I'm going to get 3-pointers from him, high field goal percentage, rebounds, blocks, scoring. The free throws, assists, but I can play him at the 5 in my lineup. That's what I like. So that's what we have for today. I'm going to try to do these every week. I say try. I want to say like if you like, comment if you have something to say, subscribe at your own risk. And I'm going to see if I can get some of my friends to come on this with me so it's a little less boring and a little less of me. And I got a ton of friends that are hoops junkies. And if they're listening, hey, maybe you want to come on. Thanks. And I'll see you in the next one.